Welcome back to Cryptolytics, giving you a fresh take on crypto analytics. And this is your crypto recap, where I cover some of the things going on in the crypto space. So let's jump in. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. So here we are on the weekly chart. So this is my long-term cycle chart. We can see that we're slowly getting across here on the stochastic RSI on the weekly, which is definitely a very good sign. So we're in the green zone, which is kind of your buy zone, if you will, where you want to look out for seeing, especially in a bull market, when we're in really oversold territory. So what I'm looking at the moment, I do, as I mentioned in the last video, have that sort of counter trade signal. So we're not out of the woods yet, but there's a lot of things that are showing bullish breakouts across the board. So I think that that's pretty much all I'll cover for the cycle chart for today, because there's a lot more when we drill down to lower time frames. So I'm looking at the 1 hour here, the 1 hour chart for Bitcoin, and I've got these levels here. And I did share this on a post showing some of the key horizontal levels. And we have been rejected from that sort of range level there. It's a horizontal level. And then we've got another one at 70K or thereabouts. So the one that we got rejected from was about 66, almost 67K. And right now we're sort of consolidating below it, but we'll have to see if we can keep this momentum going up. So we held this horizontal very nicely as support after the sort of the inverted head and shoulders head, if you will, and we got very dark blue on the stochastic heat map as well. You see this that I've got down the bottom here. Now this is the open interest. So this is how many positions are in the market. And you can generally tell what these are by looking at aggregated funding. So funding rate, if it's positive, then longs pay shorts. And if it's negative, then shorts pay longs. And the reason for that is so to encourage larger positions to start to close their positions as price gets away from the sort of standardized average price, or it's called the index price. So if funding is really positive, it means there's a lot of long positions in the market. But let's have a look at the open interest anyway. So we've got this range here, right? So why have I done this? Now, the reason why I've done this is if we have a look at the actual price of Bitcoin when we're at the levels we are right now, Bitcoin was only at 52K, right? So Bitcoin was at 52K when we're at the same open interest as we are now. So that's a reset, right? So a lot of positions were kind of flushed out during this move here, which is not a very big move, to be honest, but a lot of open interest was flushed out, which means there's probably a lot of over leveraged longs there. So this has been a pretty decent reset on open interest. And when there's really high open interest in the market, that's when we can get really high volatile price swings. And the market makers will often look to hunt liquidity in order to force close positions and reset the market. And then once it's reset, then we have more fuel to move, at least in this case, potentially in the upside. So that's why I wanted to bring attention to this. And keep in mind that Bitcoin was actually able to put in a 40% move to the upside from those very same levels. And 40% up from here is about 90K. That aligns with a lot of my targets. So between 80 to 90K is my target for if we get bullish continuation. Is up around here, 80K being the first one, 90K being the next one. It is price discovery though, so all we have to work with is a lot of these psychological round numbers. So yeah, you can quite clearly see we were able to do that very easily. So 42% from the same levels that we're at right now in OI. So anyway, it's looking pretty good. At least that's one tick in the positive side. We also have this chart here that I showed that was the potential sort of bearish scenario. But if anything, we've actually broken out of this trend line, and I did say I had to redraw it because it was here. And then you could actually call that a breakout and a retest. So a breakout and retest and then move off that. But also if you did move this diagonal trend line to here to work with this wick here, that's still a breakout, right? That's still a breakout. We need another daily close, I would say, for it to be convincing above here, which would be the 3-day candle close. But I mean, this is looking pretty good. So we still might get another retest to retest this trend line now, down to around the 62K level or thereabouts. But yeah, this is a breakout. You see this blue candle now. This is the PSAR. It's flipped to a long position, at least now on this strategy. So I did have a hedge short in that I had that was sitting at around here. Now I flipped that to long at 65K. So I was able to get this little pullback here. There's still a chance we might get a little bit more down, trickle down. And we're approaching the weekend as well. So I'm not so sure how much sort of bullish price action we'll get over the weekend, but maybe with the greed levels moving up a little, we've got a little bit more positive energy in the space. So people might start to buy on the weekends. So that might be something that we could see, but we'll have to actually just wait until the other side of the weekend to actually know what actually happens. But I find this quite funny because this was my bearish scenario for Bitcoin, right? This was like the 5-wave Elliott wave drop, or the 3-level drop as it's also known as. We actually had a perfect buy signal here, right? And I did take this and added to my Bitcoin long and bought Solana down here at 50, around 57 or thereabouts. That was the TDSS9 buy signal. And the last time we got one of those was down here. So that's why I was like, wow, that was really good last time. So anyway, that's fine. And as for this inverse head and shoulders chart, which I showed also, it's actually just put in a sell signal. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, it's just like quite annoying because I actually do trade this strategy still. So I'm trading the strategy. So I've actually flipped one of my longs to short and then I've opened up a new long, but the long is significantly bigger than the short. So the short is just hopefully just a short-term pullback. And I'm hoping that if we do go up, then Pivot Surge detects that cumulative volume index shift and puts me back in a long, but we'll have to see. The short is tiny. I don't really care about it so much. The long is, I have a lot more conviction in at this point because we are at the neckline, if you will, for this head and shoulders, as in, so that's your neckline, I guess. That actually technically was the neckline, but in order for this pattern to play out properly, we do need to break this structure here because this does kind of look like a rejection from this horizontal range. So we're pretty close though to the top of the range, which is 71K. So from here, there's only about 10% up until this top of the range, which will be probably our next major resistance, I would say. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. Waiting for these trend meters down the bottom to flip to green as well, but they can be quite delayed. I mean, last time that happened, we had a decent amount of bullish price action before both of the trend meters were green. So anyway, it's just really funny. This was my bullish scenario and the other one was my bearish scenario. And one strategy is like, okay, go long. And the other strategy is like, okay, time to short. Really funny. We're still kind of in no man's land, I guess, to be honest, until we start to clear some of these ranges. But there's other bullish stuff that I'm seeing here. Like, so as I said, the 3-day candle close, that's about to happen. So in about 22 hours time, we'll get that 3-day candle close. You can see that we definitely popped into this sort of high liquidity zone and we came straight out of it. It's quite bullish, right? Now, this is the ABC corrective pattern. This is an Elliott wave theory pattern, because you can see with regards to this correction, there's a lot of overlapping taking place. You know, when we're trending, we have this sort of these nice moves, this nice impulsive move to the upside, small amount of consolidation, and a nice impulsive move to the upside here. So this is a consolidation period, if you look at it from the Elliott wave theory perspective. So this could be the end of the C wave playing out right now. Now, the other thing I had that I just cleared was the moving averages. And I did also say in a post that if we clear the 21 and the 50 right here, which as you can see, we quite clearly kept getting rejected off, and close a 3-day, that's quite bullish. And if we close the week up here, that's even more bullish. Now you can see this red line on the chart here, this horizontal line. This is the volume profile. Now I've put it in like really, really dark so it doesn't make the chart any more busy than it already is. This red line here is the point of control, which is the highest volume node in this entire range. So this is a dynamic range volume profile. So whatever's on the chart, it's measuring in real time. See if I zoom out, you'll see that red line will move away because there was a lot more volume down here. So if I zoom back in, you'll see right at the rejection points, there was a huge fight. So I was saying that these moving averages were important, right? Well, you could see based on the volume, there was a lot of buying and selling taking place there. And what happens with these volume nodes, these high volume nodes, if you get clearance and you're able to close some significant candles above them, well, that turns into a support now. So this is resistance before, and now it has become a support, or it will become a support with a few more daily candle closes up in this region above the moving averages. So that's pretty bullish. That's pretty bullish. More bullish news that we got the headline CPI. The actual was 3.4 and the estimated was 3.4 and the prior was 3.5. So it was below expectations and it has dropped a very, very small amount, the CPI. But I think the PPI was actually quite bearish, as in it wasn't very good. So I think the market was literally just looking for some sort of bullish catalyst to move things up, because as soon as that CPI came in, that's when price went up immediately, essentially. So it's pretty safe to say there was a correlation between the two. But yeah, as soon as we got that news, we went from 62K to about 64K, so about 2,000 plus in a couple of hours after that print. So that was definitely an impulsive move off that news. It makes sense, right? So let's look at some unchained stuff. So we've got a crypto quant chart here. Look at the amount of balances for whale addresses that are spiking like crazy at these levels. This is crazy. It's like a huge spike, really, really concentrated. I think very, very concentrated around the ETFs, you can quite clearly see, right? So that's pretty big. I guess with whales and large Bitcoin holders, even if price only goes up another like 40 or 50% from here, that's huge for them, right? I think they're pretty happy buying at these levels because the returns will be quite outsized for these large accounts. Also, a pretty interesting statistic, which you may have heard already, but 937 financial institutions bought Bitcoin through the ETFs during Q1 of 2024. That's actually 10 times more of the institutional adoption of gold when its ETF was launched back in November 2004. So we actually saw there was a chart that shows just how much of a roaring bull market that gold went on, which this was doing the rounds big time, but it went up 346% after the first gold ETF was approved. There you go. There's November 2004. That would look like a price of 138K if it did the exact same thing, which it probably wouldn't. But anyway, yeah, it's quite interesting that that's 10 times more institutional adoption than gold, right? But people are still saying there's no institutional demand for Bitcoin. So this kind of proves that that's wrong. Another thing that proves that's wrong is that Pine Ridge Advisors bought $205 million worth of Bitcoin ETFs. So Pine Ridge Advisors is a fund manager with $890 million of assets under management, and they put 23% of that into Bitcoin. That's a huge allocation. And this is the sort of thing that can spark institutional FOMO, because we even have some states in the US that are investing in the Bitcoin ETFs as well, because they have to declare all of this stuff to the public, which is good for us because it shows us just how much institutional adoption there is actually taking place. So that's overall pretty bullish, I would say, at least in this cycle. These are all things that we have to look forward to. You know, short-term price action might be a bit choppy and kind of go sideways and do not much until we pick a proper direction. But, you know, this is all just noise at the end of the day, because when we do get a proper breakout, there's going to be a lot of momentum, especially with all this institutional FOMO, right? So this is something I thought was quite interesting. So there's a blockchain-based currency called the Unit. So BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is a collective of countries that are looking to not isolate themselves from the US financial system, but create their own parallel financial ecosystem. And it's kind of that whole multipolar world narrative. So BRICS Pay is coming to de-dollarize the world with a non-political financial system. So this BRICS Pay is actually a decentralized financial transfer system. So that way, no one can weaponize their currency the way that the US has, because they use their currency as a weapon because they are the global reserve currency, right? And a lot of trade occurs in the US dollar, which is why they're able to print so much and really run that debt clock up in a very, very intense way. So this is kind of cool. They're actually going for a decentralized approach for their financial transfer. And this is kind of mainstream adoption on a massive scale, right? I would say. And if you go to the Unit website, you can actually see that they're doing a raise in Bitcoin. So they're using Bitcoin to raise for this. And what happens, you know, if these countries want to help with the raise for this unit, then they'll have to buy Bitcoin, right? So that could be more buying pressure that we have coming, because it's not just Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. There's other countries looking to join this system as well, right? So is that potentially more buying pressure we'll have on the horizon? Maybe so, right? Maybe so. So yeah, this is their website, and this is the logo or the symbol. It looks a bit weird, but anyway, that's essentially what they're going for. Apolitical money, open payment and clearing system, decentralized and transparent, and globally accessible. And you can see here, they're trying to raise 1,000 Bitcoin, which is a lot, for the rollout of their MVP. So that's what they're going for. And you can see here, it says Unit ecosystem offers people around the world apolitical money that can be freely bought and sold or used as currency for payment via any open and clearing system. So it's pretty cool. I like to see blockchain adoption, but I also like to see buying pressure on Bitcoin as well. That's bullish for us, right? So let's get into some Solana news and the ecosystem update. So we've got here, there was a $10.56 million worth of shorts liquidated on this recent little run there, when we went from about 140 up to 163. So that's pretty crazy. And there was a very large liquidation point at around that 160 level. So that's one of the reasons why I think Solana went up, as well as just the fact that Solana is a hugely used chain. If you look at all the on-chain metrics, you can see that Solana is flipping ETH in a lot of cases, and the top 5 chains combined in transactions on-chain. and daily active users. I keep seeing on my feed though, it's plastered with Bitcoin maxis dumping on alts, but I guess none of them are interested to look at this SOL BTC chart, which is up 233% year on year, and it's held above the bull market support band ever since, I would say, September, when it went through a little fake out down there, but it broke out in July, mid-year last year, and it's held really nicely. So fade Solana at your own peril is what I say to them. Another chart that I've been looking at is the Ethereum Bitcoin chart. It's not looking very good, right? This is a breakdown of this support here. So it's put in a lower low, and we haven't seen these levels since 2021, which is not very good for ETH, to be honest. And then we compare that to the Solana Bitcoin chart. I mean, this looks really nice comparatively. And also, if you look at the Solana ETH chart, it looks like, you know, the real banana zone that we should be watching, right? So this is the SOL ETH chart. This is all about to take out its all-time high. So its all-time high was 0.5974, and we were just shy of that, at least on this chart. So, you know, people talking about the banana zone, which is where as soon as we break this zone, then it's a massive expansion to the upside, right? So SOL is looking incredibly bullish against ETH at the moment, that's for sure. And it just makes you wonder, it's like, bro, is he still seriously asleep? Come on. It's like, come on, let's just go. So yeah, I just find it interesting that on-chain metrics for Ethereum are showing that Solana is slowly taking over, at least on-chain, right? Not in terms of market cap, it's far from Ethereum's market cap, even now. And slowly everyone is losing ground to Solana and being flipped. You're telling me Solana can't get to Ethereum's market cap? You're saying it's not feasible? I don't know. I feel like Solana's mispriced, to be honest. This is a picture I've taken from the coin perspective. I know people use market cap of, but I really like the coin perspective because you can drill down and, you know, modify the market cap and do a lot of other stuff to sort of refine it a little bit. But if Solana had Ethereum's market cap of 362 billion, which is a lot, that's a lot. One SOL would be worth $806, which is an upside of 400%. So, you know, if you feel like it's still too late to buy SOL, I don't know about that, you know. Although, to be fair, I think in this cycle, we might only sort of reach the $500 level, I reckon. But with all of the adoption and all of the metrics being flipped, maybe this is also feasible as well. Although it will be some time before Solana sees a spot Solana ETF, I would say, whereas Ethereum has a much stronger chance of getting that sooner. So anyway, that's just something I thought I would, you know, bring up. Is that I just feel like Solana's completely mispriced based on all of these flippening metrics that we're seeing doing the rounds at the moment, right? There's also another chart that I haven't looked at before. Now, don't come at me for this. This is just data, right? But I've actually never looked at the SOL ADA chart before. So SOL is up 755% on ADA since the FTX collapse and 5,700% since listed on Binance back in April 2020. This is the entire chart here. So this is SOL ADA. You can see during the bear market, ADA definitely held up a lot better than Solana, that's for sure. But ever since about midway through last year, it's been insane. Look at that 755% move to the upside. That's insane. I do hold some ADA, but quite clearly my biggest holding these days is Solana. So, I mean, of course I'm biased, but I also use the chain a lot, and I do a lot on the chain. And I've used 19 other blockchains, as I've said in the past, extensively for DeFi. So I think I'm coming at it from a point of experience. And I've tried to use Cardano DeFi, and it's, I don't know, it seems just very unrefined and not ready. Whereas all the Solana DeFi stuff is just roaring, and it just feels like a refined and finished product, or a lot closer to it, right? Anyway, let's move away from that stuff. So now Robinhood Crypto EU users can stake their SOL within the app, which is really cool. So they've introduced their first ever crypto staking product, and that's for EU users. So that's pretty cool. So let's cover the most important ecosystem stuff going on right now. The Drift airdrop claim is now live. So we're well past the 6-hour period now, so you'll get your double allocation. The website was pretty cool if you were able to watch it. I don't have my wallet connected or my wallet installed on this computer, so I can't show you, which is kind of annoying. But anyway, they had a little car driving across the screen, which is pretty cool. It's the same car that was on that NFT that I showed you a couple of videos ago that I got for being an early user. So it was driving across the screen, and you could see the numbers going up, as in the amount you could claim was going up, because it started at like 50%. And then throughout the 6-hour period, you could see it was slowly increasing, like the number was going up of how much you could claim. So you could actually claim 1.5 times at like the 3-hour mark, if that makes any sense. But just remember before you cheat your airdrop that Coinbase is actually adding this token to their roadmap. So they'll be listing it, which is pretty big. It's a pretty big deal. because Coinbase, it's very hard to get any asset listed on there, especially an ecosystem coin. So this is actually really, really big. But at the time of this post, I said that it's still more profitable to have waited the 6 hours, but it's not far until the claim and sell strategy would have been a better call. So that is like claiming it straight away, half of your allocation, and selling it. Price would have had to go down 50% in order for that to be more profitable. Well, price is now below that level. So anyone who did this has actually now made more money than anyone who waited. If you were able to claim immediately, which I didn't, I waited the 6 hours. So anyone who claimed like here, they're still, I would say, worse off for claiming and selling if they did than if they just waited. But I mean, the thing about this is it's an airdrop, and all recent airdrops have been just pretty horrific, really, because people at the start with Jitto and stuff like that, like people didn't know that they were going to get such crazy big airdrops. So the selling pressure was nowhere near as much. But then after a few airdrops, people just expected that everyone else would sell. So it just becomes this competition of who can sell first, right? But anyway, personally, I'm happy to hold on to mine, as I feel that Drift is the best perp dex that I've ever used. And I'm going to use it as collateral to go long on SOI and Bitcoin, which I did. I actually started scaling into a SOI long and a Bitcoin long, a rather large Bitcoin long for me, to be honest. And I'll be scaling into that one on any pullbacks that we get. I'm already in it and I'm up because it caught a wick, but I don't expect that to be in the positive. But hopefully it will be in the positive after we finish our little pullback, because after such a big price spike like this, it's natural for us to cool off a little, right? Sometimes we do keep going crazy though, admittedly. But after a big price move to the upside, even here we got consolidation. So I'm hoping we just consolidate here. Maybe we come down a little, maybe we go back up. But anyway, that's my strategy. Now, as at the time of posting this, the price was 35 cents. I think it's like 23 cents now. It's sitting at around 30 cents. That's not too bad. So yeah, we did come down a fair bit. We put in a low of 26 cents. So that was a low of 26 cents. And we're sitting at around the 30-cent mark at the moment. This looks pretty stable to me for now. So it looks like maybe most of the selling is done for now, but this is a 3-minute chart. So who knows where it could go from here, right? But nevertheless, I'm holding mine and using it as collateral. It's free money that I can use to trade. At the time of doing this post, it was worth 7,350, which is pretty cool. And that's most of that is my OG bonus, because I've been around since, as I just mentioned before, I've been around since the start of Drift V2. And I just really like the experience. I think it's great especially ever since they turned on the auto confirm feature, which you have to keep turning on, of course, but that's a security feature of it. But nevertheless, it's still pretty convenient. And I said here that Drift has up to 10x on Bitcoin, and I meant to write here SOL. Oops. Bitcoin and SOL. Actually, it's got 20x. If you have traded enough on their platform, I think you get more leverage, because on one of my accounts, which is smaller, it says 10x. On one of my accounts, it says 20x. But there's a ton of tickers, and you can see here what you can actually trade on Drift, right? So you got SOL, Bitcoin, ETH, WIF, Bonk, Dupe, SOI, Render, Doge, Pepe, Jitto, Wormhole, Pith, Injective, Say, AVAX, Tier, Link. I mean, look, this list is huge. This is all of what you can trade perps on Drift. This is a lot. This is actually quite a lot. So I think it's building up pretty nicely. And also another reason why I'm happy to hold on to mine is I actually want to see what they do with the governance. So I can actually participate in the governance. Although it means that if I do that, I won't be able to collateralize this, but hopefully by then I'll be able to close those positions that I open and put it into governance and see what they do with it. Yeah, you can see that this price action here was quite clearly the bots. So these were the automatic claim bots. Looks very weird, this price action. And I think that these candles that preceded these were actually factoring in the whales market and all of the pre-trading stuff. And I think it was like 25 or 30% of investors' money was available at TGE. So, I mean, they just sold that immediately for the most part. I think if anything, the airdroppers are less likely to move price than investors, but you know, these guys have got to do funding raises, otherwise how do they get paid, right? Apart from fees and stuff on the platform. But yeah, in similar fashion to Wormhole and Camino, it's an L-shaped drop. There's an L right there. And this was the bot price action, I would say, because it was within the first, not even hour, I think. Yeah, first 40 minutes. And they only drove the price down about 25-30%. But most of it came after, when people were like, all right, cool, I can claim now. Actually, people were front running the claim. You know, have a look here. This is the 6-hour period. So once the 6-hour period was done, you can see that now it's a sort of, not diamond hands, but the people who actually care about the protocol. Also in here, I added some information. So it was 25% asset weight. So what that means is 25% of the value here, you can use as collateral to trade against, right? So that's what that means by asset weight. Although I did see that number was actually significantly lower today for some reason. But anyway, when I saw it, last night, that's what it said 25%. But then if you're trading 10x, then that's fine. Or 20x. I only really trade about 5x myself, so I'm not too degen on leverage trading. But yeah, I think it was a clean process and it was pretty well done in my opinion. Just make sure you go over to use Lulo and check the rewards section for additional drift. Because remember, use Lulo will move capital that you deploy around to different protocols, wherever the best yield is. And I'm sure like if you've been using this for a few months, then at some point it's deployed to drift. So in my case, I had 2 wallets with 100 drift. It was 200, but they revised it to 100 each because it was part of their Sybil reduction scheme or whatever to try and reduce the number of Sybil wallets in the airdrop. So I think I was entitled initially to like 42K and in the end I only got 38K. I'm not Sybil, but whatever, it is what it is. I just have 2 different wallets. But Cindy was saying on one of the calls that she just doesn't like the idea of people basically going delta neutral, which I kind of do anyway. And it's one of the reasons why I have 2 accounts, but because I've got different strategies. Sometimes my strategy says to go long on Bitcoin and sometimes I've got another strategy that says to go short. And so that's why I need 2 accounts, because you can't do futures trading on here, as in it's just perps. Because on some exchanges, you can open up futures positions. So you can open up a long on the futures, so expiring futures, and then you can just go short on the perps, for example, which is what I used to do on FTX back in the day to do delta neutral farming. But anyway, I won't go into that. So yeah, here it says the asset weight is actually now 4%, which it's not a lot. So only 4% of the dollar value, which right now is 3,823, or a couple hours ago, that was that. I'm gonna use 4% of that as collateral right now. So what is that? Are you telling me that I should have sold this as USDC? Because that's 100% anyway. I'm gonna hold it, as I said. But I think they did pretty well, and I really like the platform, so I'm here for it. And maybe if we get a nice little recovery, I'll shave a little bit off the top, take a little bit of profit, but not at these levels. It's just too cheap, in my opinion. Market cap's way too low. Anyway, let's move on. So later on today, or probably very soon at the time you watch this, there'll be a 2x points multiplier on Sanctum, Wonderland. Covered this many times in many videos, so if you want to know what it is, then go and check out any of my videos where I've mentioned it in the title, because I go into great level of detail on it. The LSTs that they'll be giving the 2x multiplier to will be Juicy Sol, Lantern Sol, Power Sol, and Stake Sol. So out of this list, these 4, what I will go into, because I do farm the points and I'm gamifying this like crazy, I'll go to Juicy Sol. And the reason why that is if you go over to Sanctum and come in over here, the API is pretty high, which we don't really care about if we're just doing a temporary swap. But you can see that every epoch, 50% of all block rewards and priority fees in Sol users' wallets are given BSKT, which is basket. So that's why I'll go into them, because that means I might get a little bit of a basket airdrop from holding it. I don't know for how long. Maybe you have to hold it for the whole epoch. I'm not really sure, but maybe I'll get a basket airdrop at the same time. Who knows, right? Don't know. Speculation, but that's why I'll go to Juicy. I'll probably put, I don't know, like 100 Sol or something like that into this for this period, but I won't go too aggressive. Because as I mentioned, when you swap on Sanctum, sometimes you can't swap between LSTs. And if you swap on Jupiter, then you might have like a 0.5% slippage. So that's quite a lot, as I mentioned in my last video. So anyway, I mentioned the Jupiter vote is coming up for DeBridge, or not just DeBridge, but for those 3 protocols that I mentioned in my last video. Now, if you're curious to know what kind of rewards you'll get from participating in the ASR rewards program, which is coming in July, you can actually get an idea for it if you come over to this post here on my X, link in the description below. There's actually a website here that Paran Godex has created. It's actually really cool. And all it is it shows you, based on how much dupe that you've staked, your voting power, as they call it. So mine's about 12, I think it was like 12,700 or something like that. You can click here and you can see what you'll be likely getting during that process. So we'll be getting, well, so let's just say you've got, I don't know, 200 dupe, which is pretty standard. You'll be getting 23 dupe, which is worth $26. You'll be getting Wen, which is just a tiny little bit of dust, and UPT and Shark, all that sort of stuff. So I guess for me, it's actually not bad. It's actually not bad. So $40 worth of Wen, $90 worth of Zeus, $1 worth of Shark, and Uprock. So that's $1,800. That's crazy. Like, I don't know. And again, the disclaimer is that this is estimated based on several factors. So anyway, come check this out. Maybe give Paradon Docs a follow, because this is really good work. Dupe is just one of those communities where a lot of people want to contribute to it because it's just such a good product and such a strong community. So this is really cool. All right, keep going with more airdrop stuff, I guess. So I covered Switchboard, points, and orbs in my last video, and they did another post on how you can actually get these orbs. So again, I think it's similar to stuff that I said in the last video, but engage with partner protocols, interact with data feeds secured by Switchboard. So again, remember that Sanctum, MarginFi, Solend, again, the list is in the last video, so check that out if you want to know, are all partners and create content around Switchboard. So if that's something that you're interested in, then maybe you'll get a decent airdrop for doing that, and then participate in the developer ecosystem. So that's how you can get more ARPs. Very similar to what I mentioned in the last video, but they've actually done a post on it now finally. So there you go. Also, I think it may have been there before, but I only just saw it and I just saw this post, but DeBridge, who's one of the LFG vote candidates who I believe will win, I think with about an 80% probability they'll win. But anyway, integrated with Birdeye, which is one of the main sites. I mean, you saw I went to it before. One of the main sites that people go to when looking at meme coins and other ecosystem tokens and coins on Solana. So you can actually just bridge straight from within Birdeye, which is really good and good exposure for them as well. And I'm not going to shill my ref link for this because I've only used DeBridge a couple of times to get stuff from the Binance Smart Chain to Solana. But it's a really, really easy process. I only have a small amount of points. I think that if you want a big airdrop, what you've got to do is you've got to shill your ref link, because the fees on DeBridge are actually quite high, but that's because it's instantaneous. It's really fast. It's a lot more streamlined than, say, Wormhole, for example. So it's really fast, really streamlined, but the fees are relatively high. So the airdrop that you're getting, well, it kind of just helps pay for the fees that you've incurred. So I think that's probably why, you know, your crypto banter, for example, are shilling the hell out of it and trying to get everyone to use their ref link, because that's really how you can get a proper sort of free money airdrop from this. But anyway, like, it's still a cool protocol, and I've used it a few times, and I think the fees are justified just based on how streamlined and easy the process was. And I'll be voting for them, definitely be voting for them. And hopefully, if you vote for them, you'll get a bigger airdrop. So we'll have to see, right? Bit more news on Apollo, which is the Zeus L2 for Bitcoin, essentially, or it's pulling in Bitcoin liquidity into the Solana ecosystem. They've got some more news on their Apollo protocol, that's their main MVP or most valued product. And they're slowly chipping away at it, which is good to see. Now, actually, Zeus has been doing all right recently, price-wise. Hit a bottom, and we'll be getting a little bit more if you voted for them, which I did, in the LFG ASR program in July as well. But yeah, I know this is a really good, solid protocol and product, if you ask me. And I'm looking forward to it because it combines two of the greatest blockchains right now, I'd say Bitcoin and Solana. And hopefully something that will bring Bitcoin's mammoth liquidity into Solana as people look for earning yield on their Bitcoin. Okay, so let's get into some juicy stuff. It's all kind of related to some of the crazy meme coin mania that we've had. So Pump.Fun is a website that went from a silly toy that nobody took seriously to making 1 million plus a day in revenue in 5 months. This is crazy. Like, we're talking, this is Jan 21, right? This is Jan 21. Volume 7,000. It went up way more than this. Way more than this. We had a whole bunch of random things where people were streaming, because Pump.Fun people could stream their launches and sort of dox their faces. And we had one where some kid and his mum were, anyway, doing weird stuff. It was pretty funny. And then you had someone who was like, look, I'm not going to rug you. Look, oh, look, no hands. He like basically launched the token, stood away from his computer, launched it, and was like, had this piece of paper. He was like, no hands, no hands. And then you'd see him go to the computer and sell some of it. I'm like, bro, come on. Anyway, look, it gained a lot of traction, right? It gained a lot of traction. Again, $1 million plus in revenue a day during the mania that we had recently in the meme coin market. But, well, now we've got a problem, right? So there was actually an exploit, and people saying it was $80 million exploited. It was actually only 1.9, which, well, only is not the right word for it, but 1.9 million was exploited, and users are being made whole, and fees are 0% for 7 days. So as you said, as I showed you in that previous post, they were making 1 million plus in revenue a day. So they can afford this 1.9, that's 2 days worth of revenue. So very easy for them to cover this. Oh, even says here, like, this is non-trivial. Pump makes 1 million in fees per day. So there you go. It's all part of this post. And it was literally just an admin key from an old employee that was exploited. So, I mean, people have gone nuts. Essentially, as you know, what happens on Twitter, there's huge thread, and, you know, look at all the views. People have reshared it, you know, liked it, commented on it, essentially. So this is just kind of what happens, right? And then as Mert says, lol, every time there's an exploit on Solana, everyone just says a bunch of nonsense. Hint, it's because literally no one can read the Solana Explorer. And this is very true. If you ever look at SolScan, it's really confusing. You know, when you look at BSC scan, for example, on Binance Smart Chain, everything kind of makes sense. You can really track all of their transaction very well. Whereas if you look at Solana Explorer, it's really confusing and it's hard to know what's going on. And I can attest to that myself when I've tried to figure out where some of my funds have gone, or not where they've gone, but what I've been doing on chain and stuff like that. And it's just like, what does this even say? So anyway, that's what makes it hard, I guess. So yep, another exploit, kind of trivial, and users will be made whole. And also MarginFi, because that was part of the FUD, was talking about MarginFi. MarginFi said that they're ready to help Pump.Fun team with the exploit. Reminder, operations on MarginFi are normal, because again, that was all part of the FUD. And be aware of disinformation, and they're available to help the Pump team remedy the situation. Yeah, people are saying nearly 2,000 SOL was stolen. But anyway, bit of drama, I suppose. I think people are kind of overstating it a bit though, to be honest. But anyway, MarginFi is there to help. And speaking of MarginFi, saw a really cool post by them, and they want to introduce Solana's first liquidity layer. So, this is as opposed to like an L2, like a layer 2 scaling solution, is that, doing things like liquidity layers, for example. And so, yeah, here's how it's changing the game, right? I've got a pretty extensive post here. If you want to go and check it out, I suppose. I'll just cover it a little bit because I don't want to drag the video up too long, but they are building the first layer with real native yield, embedded risk systems, and off-chain data plugins. So that's pretty cool. You can earn yield from staking through their LST, which did have a DPEG recently. The second way is to earn native token yield through MarginLend, which is their money market. Third is they can earn native stable asset yield through YBX, which is their rebased stablecoin that has real yield baked into it, right? It's an RWA narrative, or real asset narrative. And the purpose of this is it preserves the atomic composability of the L1. So it doesn't need to sort of scale into an L2 scaling solution, all that sort of stuff that we're seeing for Ethereum, for example. So this is the main goal of Solana, is with a lot of monolithic chains really, but preserving that single atomic state essentially is what the end game is. It's just to maintain that and shy away from having to create any scaling solutions, but to scale on the actual chain, or let the chain itself scale, right? It's what, one of the reasons why FireDancer is so hyped as well, because it's a huge scaling upgrade for Solana. So yeah, existing L2s are just copies of the underlying infrastructure. They have no moats. Team easily copy-paste code base from one L1 or L2 to another. Teams building on these L1s or L2s get no benefits. They start from zero with liquidity, users, and network effects. Anyway, it's a huge post. It's a huge post, so I won't go into it in detail. If you really want to read more about this, if you're curious, then go to MarginFi and give it a read, and I'll move on. All right, so let's cover some Memecoin stuff. Now, the Memecoin narrative, it's interesting actually. The Memecoin narrative is kind of starting to go through another paradigm shift. We go through these often, right? And a lot of the time we go through these when the market wakes up, right? Because a lot of the time meme coins do well when we're consolidating going sideways, because people are bored and just want to do something a lot of the time, and they want to make money in other ways. And a lot of the time meme coins and low cap coins are a way to do it. But it takes away from real project investment, right? Because all the liquidity is flying into meme coins. But I'm both, right? I invest in real project coins, and I also play with meme coins as well, right? But if you're just playing with meme coins and you haven't invested in any of the picks and shovels, if you will, in Solana, then do a bit of research, DYOR, as they say, and try and find some stuff that you think will have staying power throughout this cycle and potentially future cycles, because it's definitely worth it. But anyway, let's just keep talking about the meme coins then anyway, because I think they're still going, right? Things are still happening there. So Michi, I did post this. I was like, Michi's primed. There's a AMC and GME with hat derivatives. They just continued their slow rug, which was what you saw on like Crypto Banter. They were talking about these AMC and GME derivatives with hat. I actually bought AMC with hat, and it just went to nothing. So there you go. I only threw like $80 at it, so really not a lot, because the market cap was like 60k, which is super degen. Like the most degen thing I've done a long time. But I was like, yeah, let's just see what happens. But $80 at a 60k market cap, if that went up to like 50 million or 100 million, it's quite a lot. So anyway, that's how I did Guac, right? So when Guac first came out, I was like, this is funny. I just put like $100 into it, and it went up an insane amount. And I was like, what the hell? And then I bought it back after a pullback, like a lot more. And that's where I bought my bike, my desktop computer, and a bunch of other things with like, went up 2000%. So anyway, the Michi chart looked really good when I posted this, and it went up even more. So wow, it actually went up even more so I did another post this morning, and I was like, so the prevailing narrative is that meme season is over. But Michi does not seem to care about this, hitting a $300 million market cap as we speak, which is up 1200% from where I covered it on my video a couple of weeks ago. And I admit, I am keen for real projects to start getting attention. It's well needed and definitely well deserved, as far as I'm concerned. But if we look here on Michi, man, what happened there? It just went up to $360 million market cap. So that's pretty impressive. So this is where I called it at around 22 million. Go back to my video around here on the 25th of April. You can go and, the receipts are there, right? The receipts are there. So that's 1478. That's crazy. Now, disclaimer on this one, my sell orders for Michi, if it even gets there, are sitting at around $800 million market cap. So I'm not in this for the long haul. Just keep that in mind. The reason why I'm saying that, and I said it back here as well, is because the thesis is cats to a billion, right? I think people front run that like they did with Mu at like 900 or 8 or thereabouts around this level. It's still from here 192%, which is not bad. It's really not that bad. But anyway, for me, that would be 3000%. That's insane. So anyway, Michi's doing really well. So the thesis remains strong. Michi remains strong. It's still something that I really like. Infinitely memeable, and I'm here for it. I just don't know when people will start aggressively taking profit on this. This wick here is actually not ideal, not great, but so we had one of those here as well, and it still went up an additional 58%. So anyway, I'm still watching this, and it's pretty fun. Even when the market's going sideways and not doing much, Michi still runs, right? It's another one that I think might be getting ready to send. Look at this. Look at Maneki. So I've got my daily DCAs in, as I mentioned. So the last DCA was yesterday, and I'm just gonna sit and wait and watch, because these guys are just really shipping, right? They're doing a lot of really cool stuff like animations and all sorts of stuff, and they're official brand registered now with a trademark and everything. And as far as Maneki goes, we had this really nice channel. So this is a 4-hour chart. This really nice channel up, and then as soon as we broke that, we started this slow bleed down, right? Slow bleed down. That's where I turned my DCA on, where I felt like we got a small break of structure here, and it's stabilized. So this looks pretty horizontal. And this is what happens with meme coins, right? They get these long drawdown phases, and then they start to stabilize and form a base, right? And this one base is all the way down here, right? Market cap's only 63 million, which is very, very low, considering, it could go to a billion. Could go, who knows? We don't know. When the next meme season comes back, because I think people are getting a bit exhausted of the meme season, but it will come back, right? The meme seasons always come back. There'll be new narratives. There was like recently like a country coin thing, which came and went pretty quick. There's like whatever's going on in the world, there will be meme coins around it, right? The GME thing with Roaring Kitty, all these GME meme coins and stuff, right? GME, AMC, Kitty with hat, whatever, all this stuff, whatever's going on in the world, there's going to be a meme coin for it, just because it's so easy to mint a meme coin on Solana. So it's kind of funny. And that's why they also call them like culture coins as well, right? You think about like your cartoons like South Park, for example, where they're always sort of got their finger on the pulse, and a lot of the episodes are relevant to what's going on at the time. Well, meme coins are that, but as an investment. So how weird, it's such a weird concept, right? I don't know. I think it's fun though. I think it's fun. So yeah, Maneki could be getting ready to send. We'll see what happens, right? Price action is looking all right as far as I'm concerned, and the team is shipping. I saw this now, just a bit about Web3 gaming, which this is really funny. So I saw this future of gaming, minting actions on chain, truly revolutionary. Look at this. This looks terrible. I think most games aren't like this. This is just a joke, to be honest. But I mean, there's definitely a better way than this, right? So think about airdrop farming, how you farm points and then you get an airdrop later. Well, I think that's the way going forward that it's going to be, right? There's this project Blokkplay where that's exactly what they're doing. So they're actually like a layer 2 almost, you could call it, for AAA games. Basically, you run this, it's starting for PC, and then they're going to move to like Xbox and PlayStation and use their rewards schemes for that. But for PC, it's an application that runs, and different games will have different ways of earning points, right? So be like, say number of headshots, or I don't know, just there'll be like a rotating list of things that you have to achieve in order to get points. So it's still gamified. It's not just like a random farm where you just play and then you earn tokens. It's still gamified, and you still have to achieve goals in order to get this. But with Blokkplay, essentially, you can turn any AAA game into a Web3 game. So this is crazy. This is huge. This is massive, because these are games that, we play anyway, right? So Fortnite, Rocket League, there's a whole bunch of them. And essentially what you do is, you can create an account. I don't have a referral link or anything to this yet, but I'll create one at some point. But you create an account and, connect your Phantom wallet, and, you can go through these tasks and earn block points, essentially block points, which later you can actually redeem for their token once they mint it. So this is really, really cool. there'll be all these different tasks and different ways you can earn points. And, you know, there's a leaderboard and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, this is the thing, right? Like AAA games or all the most fun games, a lot of them aren't Web3 games, but this is bringing Web 2 into Web 3. So that's why I'm calling it like a layer 2 for gaming. But anyway, this is something that I was just having a look at, and yeah, I just thought this was quite funny, this post, because yeah, there's something. And you know, we're seeing the narrative slowly come back because it's been very quiet this cycle, because gaming was huge in the last cycle, right? But it was at the very end of the cycle, so it didn't really get a chance to really play out. So gaming for crypto is definitely something to watch this cycle. When it will start getting big, who knows? But these guys are definitely one to watch, I would say. And, you know, you can come over here and do their Zealy quest, which I mentioned in the last video. You can win some USDT as well, right? And that will be announced on the 10th of June. So there'll be top 5 and 5 random distributed on the 10th of June and total of 500. So it's a small amount, but, you know, it's free money. So can't complain when it comes to free money, right? I think when it comes to Web3 gaming, I'm the most bullish on this project, I would say, more than any other project, at least any of the games that I've seen. So anyway, their website is just blokkplay.com. You can go over to their X to get their official X account to get the link. But it's definitely worth checking out. I mean, this dashboard looks really nice. You can see your achievements, your most rewarded, rewards, boosts, because they'll have points boosts, right? It's like all of the airdrop farming, right? What are we all used to, right? Even talking about Sanctum with their 2x point boost. They'll have points boosts in here as well. So anyway, it's worth checking out, and I think it's worth following this project for sure. All right, and just a couple more things. I saw there's this NFT, I believe, or NFT project called the Ape Society. They actually left Cardano and bridged to Base. So I guess patience isn't for everyone, is what I said here, because that's the thing, I guess, when you are within the Cardano ecosystem, you have to be very, very, very patient. But yeah, I saw this and I was like, I wonder why that is. Because, I don't know, like Cardano has some potential, right? It has some potential. It's not just a cult, you know, I mean, it kind of is, but it's not just a cult where people follow Charles because he's smart and they're just like, well, we don't use DeFi, but this guy seems to know what he's talking about, so let's just buy this thing, which is my kind of thesis, but it's not the only thing, right? It is actually solid technology, and it's just taking a long time to really build out. But these guys bailed, but I'm sure over time, you know, we'll start to see the DeFi build out. So this is just DeFi Llama. It's about 261 million in TVL on DeFi Llama, which isn't a lot, right? It just goes to show that it's still pretty early for them. Although the chain's been around for a long time now, 2017? And 261 million is actually half of what Sanctum. I think one protocol in Solana is double that. Wow. This has got to be even more since I last checked. 667 million just on Sanctum. Whoa, that's crazy. So that's one protocol, which has more than double of what the whole chain of Cardano has. So to be honest though, I don't know. It's one of these things, I haven't heard of many airdrop farms and stuff on Cardano, but it might be one of these things where maybe some might come up. And because there's such a small amount of money in the ecosystem, it means you're more likely to possibly get a bigger airdrop if you've got a decent amount of money in there. So that's the other thing as well, right? Something to consider, I would say. I wouldn't write Cardano off completely, but you know, there's not a lot going on the chain compared to some of the competitors. So I think that's enough for today's video. I hope you liked it. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, then please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And go check me out on X if you want all of this alpha in real time before I can do a long form video on it. And I'll see you on the next one. This is Cryptolytics signing out. Have a good one.